All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Saira Mujtaba and with me is Bcci Pramod. The headlines. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address Governors' Conference on National Education Policy through video conferencing today. Metro services resume across the country after a gap of over 5 months. Airlines to fully refund air tickets booked during lockdown, Centre tells Supreme Court. G20 countries reaffirm their commitment to ensure education continuity and safety for all. In the US Open Tennis, Indo-Canadian duo of Rohan Bopanna and Denis Shapovalov to play men's doubles quarterfinals today. And Bcci announces schedule for IPL 2020 to be held in UAE. In the opening match, defending champions Mumbai Indians to clash with Chennai Super Kings on 19th of September. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the inaugural session of the Governors' Conference on National Education Policy through video conference today. The conference, titled Role of NEP 2020 in Transforming Higher Education, is being organized by the Ministry of Education. NEP 2020 is the first education policy of the 21st century, which was announced after 34 years of the previous national policy on education in 1986. NEP 2020 is directed towards major reforms in both school and higher education level. The new national education policy strives for making India an equitable and vibrant knowledge society. It envisions an India-centered education system that contributes directly to transforming India into a global superpower. The Governors' Conference is also to be attended by education ministers of all states, vice-chancellors of state universities and other senior officials. G20 countries have reaffirmed their commitment to ensure education continuity and safety for all. A virtual meeting of G20 Education Ministers was held to discuss and share experiences of member countries in the 3 identified areas. These are education continuity in times of crisis, early childhood education, and internationalization in education. The education ministers adopted a communique at the end of the meeting. Regarding ensuring education continuity in times of crisis, the communique recognizes the value of distance and blended teaching and learning and underscores the importance of enhancing access to high-quality education, professional development for educators, digital infrastructure, and content. Speaking on the occasion, Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank said, India will continue the efforts it has taken to reform and transform its education system and mitigate the challenge posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. He also said India is committed to collaborate with G20 member countries in the area of education.
The Centre has informed Supreme Court that airlines will fully refund air ticket booked for travel during lockdown. This applies to domestic and international tickets booked between 25th March and May 3rd this year and will have to be refunded immediately. The move comes after Supreme Court asked the Centre to explain its position on a PIL seeking full refund of booked air tickets during lockdown. The government also said that if the airlines are unable to make full refund, the flyers will get credit shell up to 31st of March next year. Centre also said that the passengers can use the credit on any route of choice and should also be able to transfer it to anyone. The airlines will devise a mechanism to facilitate such a transfer. India achieved a record of conducting over 10 lakh COVID tests for 4 days in a row, surpassing the initial target of conducting over 10 lakh tests. Nearly 1,652 labs in the country conducted close to 11 lakh tests in the last 24 hours. The country has witnessed significant stepping up in its COVID testing capacity in the last 5 months. From just 160 labs testing COVID samples on the 23rd of March this year, the country yesterday had 1,027 government labs and 625 private labs. So far, with an overall testing figure of 4,88,31,145, the nation has also been able to maintain a remarkably low positivity rate below 8.5%. Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Madhya Pradesh have recorded a positivity rate even lower than 5%. The Health Ministry said that high levels of testing sustained over a period of time in widespread areas has enabled early diagnosis of cases and facilitated seamless isolation and hospitalization.
The country registered the maximum number of recoveries of nearly 73,640 COVID patients in the last 24 hours. So far, around 32 lakh people in the country have recovered from the viral pandemic. The overall recovery rate has also maintained its upward trend and has now reached 77.32%. The Health Ministry has said constant increase in recoveries has ensured that the actual caseload of the country has reduced and it currently comprises only 20.96% of the total positive cases. The number of recovered patients has overtaken the active cases by nearly 3.7 times. The ministry said the number of recovered patients in the country has grown over 4 times in a span of 2 months. Effective implementation of test, track and treat approach has led to higher recoveries and lower fatality. Currently, India's case fatality rate is at 1.72%. In the last 24 hours, 90,633 new cases have been reported, taking the total number of positive cases to 41,13,812. Presently, the total number of active corona cases in the country is 8,62,320. In the last 24 hours, 1,065 deaths have also been recorded, taking the total to 70,626. A total of 3,256 new confirmed cases of coronavirus have been reported in Delhi during the past 24 hours, taking the total number of cases to over 1,91,000. Delhi government has said that over 1,65,000 people affected with coronavirus have been cured so far. In the past 24 hours, 2,188 people have recovered. 29 deaths were also reported in the national capital, taking the total to 4,567. Presently, the total number of active corona cases in the national capital is 20,909.
In Bihar, COVID-19 recovery rate has improved to 88.24%, which is the highest in the country. Health Minister Mangal Pandey said that the death rate is also the lowest at 0.5%. 1,924 patients recovered in the last 24 hours, while 1,797 were tested negative. 1,30,300 patients have recovered from the infection in the state so far. In Gujarat, 1,335 new cases of COVID-19 were recorded during the past 24 hours. The recovery rate has further improved to 81.23%. More from our correspondent.
More than 27,80,000 tests have been carried out in the state till date, out of which 72,561 tests were carried out yesterday. At present, 16,475 active cases in the state, out of which 92 patients are on ventilator. At the other end, 1,212 patients have been discharged from various hospitals after recovery. Total patients recovered from COVID-19 have gone up to 84,758. 14 patients have lost their lives yesterday, taking the total deaths due to COVID-19 in the state up to 3,108. Yogesh Pandya, AR News, Ahmedabad.
In Madhya Pradesh, the number of COVID-19 cases in the state climbed up to around 73,574 after 1,694 new cases were reported in the past 24 hours. With 29 patients succumbing to the infection, the death toll rose to 1,572. More details from our correspondent.
As per the State Health Bulletin, 1,238 coronavirus patients were discharged from the hospitals yesterday, taking the number of recovered cases in the state to 55,887. There are now 16,115 active cases in Madhya Pradesh. Meanwhile, in a one of its kinds of initiative, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Medical College and Hospital in Jabalpur in the state has established live interaction with families to curb depression and suicidal tendencies among COVID-19 patients. The experiment began after 2 coronavirus positive patients tried to kill themselves at the hospital. Dean Dr. P.K. Kasar informed that a glass partition that separates patients from kin is in place for the interaction. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
Kerala Finance Minister Dr. T.M. Thomas Isaac has tested positive for COVID-19. This is the first time that a minister is testing COVID positive in the state. He has been admitted to Thiruvananthapuram Medical College. This comes on the day Kerala reported its highest ever single day spurt in COVID-19 cases, with 3,082 people testing positive and taking the total active COVID cases to 22,676.
Odisha has conducted 20,98,401 COVID-19 tests so far, resulting in a positive caseload of 1,24,031. While the total number of people already cured of the infection has gone up to 93,774, the number of cases in hospital isolation has also risen to around 30,000. More from our correspondent.
Amid the zooming numbers of COVID-19 patients in the state, the recovery rate too has been zooming along to reach around 76% as of now. Yet another silver lining around the COVID cloud is that more than 80% of patients are asymptomatic, which in turn eases off the pressure on COVID-19 care centers and facilities in the state. However, without taking any chances, the state government has been adding to its patient absorption capacities with the establishment of new COVID hospitals and additional care facilities in districts like Cuttack, Sambalpur and Koraput. Besides Khordha, the district with the highest surge in cases, with capital Bhubaneswar on the lead. Meanwhile, the Bhubaneswar Municipal Corporation is batting for People Connect programs in the capital city to cut down on the rising case count. Girish Chandra Das, Bhubaneswar.
In our series Experts Speak on All India Radio, we bring you the views of leading medical experts on COVID-19. Talking to AIR News, Dr. Uma Kumar, Head of Rheumatology Department, AIIMS, suggested people to follow social distancing, hand hygiene and cough etiquette.
Corona infection, it's a new infection and nothing much is known about this virus. You call it treatment or you call it prevention. The only thing which helps is social distancing or physical distancing. Along with it, you have like hand hygiene, washing your hands very frequently, and cough etiquettes like while coughing or sneezing, just cover your face and nose. Use tissue paper or cloth, or if you don't have anything, you can just cough into your elbows.
The Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan yesterday held a review meeting with the health secretaries of 6 states and union territories through video conference on the containment and management of COVID in 35 districts. These 35 districts comprise Kolkata, Howrah, North 24 Parganas and South 24 Parganas in West Bengal. Pune, Nagpur, Thane, Mumbai Suburban, Kolhapur, Sangli, Nashik, Ahmednagar, Raigad, Jalgaon, Sholapur, Satara, Palghar, Aurangabad, Dhule and Nanded in Maharashtra, Surat in Gujarat, Puducherry, East Singhbhum in Jharkhand and all the 11 districts in Delhi. Addressing the participants, Mr. Bhushan underscored the need to suppress, curb and eventually break the chain of transmission of the infectious disease by strengthening the active case search focusing on the comorbid and elderly population. Mr. Bhushan and the state health secretaries also discussed the detailed roadmaps and action plans for the next 1 month.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address Governors' Conference on National Education Policy through video conferencing today. Metro services resume across the country after a gap of over 5 months. Airlines to fully refund air tickets booked during lockdown, Centre tells Supreme Court. G20 countries reaffirm their commitment to ensure education continuity and safety for all. In the US Open Tennis, Indo-Canadian duo of Rohan Bopanna and Denis Shapovalov to play men's doubles quarterfinals today. And Bcci announces schedule for IPL 2020 to be held in the UAE. In the opening match, defending champions Mumbai Indians to clash with Chennai Super Kings on the 19th of September. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
Metro services resumed this morning in different cities across the country after a gap of more than 5 months. These cities are Delhi, Lucknow, Chennai, Bengaluru, Hyderabad and Ahmedabad. Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Durga Shankar Mishra said that passengers will have to follow preventive measures against COVID-19 by maintaining social distancing and wearing face masks.
मेट्रो संचालन में पूरी की पूरी मुस्तैदी हमने सारे के सारे हमारे जो मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर्स है मेट्रो कंपनीज के, इंक्लूडिंग दिल्ली मेट्रो के जो एमडी है, उनके माध्यम से सारी की सारी मेट्रो में वो सारी आवश्यकताओं की पूर्ति करेंगे, जिससे कि पहला चीज कि जो भी लोग मेट्रो पे आए वो मास्क लगा के आए, बगैर मास्क के अंदर नहीं घुस सकते हैं। दूसरा, हर एक आदमी की थर्मल स्कैनिंग होगी, केवल ऐसे लोग जिनको टेम्परेचर नहीं है उन्हीं को अंदर आने दिया जाएगा। तीसरा, सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग का पूरी तरह से पालन होगा।
In the first stage, Delhi Metro will operate in 2 shifts from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Normal operations will start from the 12th of this month. Metro stations and entry-exit gates in containment zones will be closed. Only asymptomatic persons will be allowed to travel after thermal screening at entry into the stations. Sanitizers will be made available at entry points of stations for use by passengers. In Chennai, the metro rail services resumed this morning. Tamil Nadu Industries Minister M.C. Sampath inaugurated the services at 7 a.m. by travelling on a train on airport to Washermanpet route. More from our correspondent.
To avoid human interface during the ticketing procedures, card readers are installed in all the stations of the Chennai Metro. Its mobile app is loaded with features that can be used for ticketing and top-up and to avail the other support services. The air conditioning systems in the stations are fitted with special filters to ward off harmful microbes. The train sets and stations are getting periodically fumigated and cleaned. The intrastate long-distance bus services have also been resumed in Tamil Nadu today. The State Express Transport Corporation has said about 600 luxury buses are being operated in the first phase without AC, keeping in mind the looming pandemic threat. The Southern Railway on its part has already started running long-distance daily special trains exclusively with reserved tickets, which are getting an impressive patronage. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
In Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow Metro resumed operations this morning. First metro train started running at 6 a.m. Lucknow Metro has laid special emphasis on contactless travel, sanitization, social distancing, hygiene and cleanliness. Various measures, rigorous steps have been undertaken to ensure a smooth, safe, secure and convenient commuting experience to the passengers. More from our correspondent.
The first train of Lucknow Metro moved this morning at 6 a.m. after a gap of over 5 months from Munshi Pulia and airport stations. Train operations will continue with normal timings and last metro will run on 10 p.m. For commuters, trains will be available on an interval of 5 minutes 30 seconds. The trains will stop at every station and masks will be mandatory, which will be provided in case any passenger forgets to bring it along with him. Normally, 2 gates will be functional at every metro station with no separate gates for entry and exit. It will be mandatory to sanitize hands and sanitizers will be available at every gate and temperature of every passenger will be taken. Social distancing markings have been done on alternate seats to maintain sufficient gap between passengers inside train also. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
In Karnataka, Bengaluru Metro resumed its operations this morning. More from our correspondent.
After the Unlock 4, the Namma Metro service in Bengaluru resumed its operation from today after a gap of more than 5 months. The services will be available from morning 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. After September 11th, services will be extended from morning 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Passengers are allowed to use only smart cards and there is no provision for using tokens. Only 400 commuters will be allowed at a time inside the train. Bengaluru Metro Rail Corporation made it mandatory that every passenger must wear mask, maintain social distancing and sanitize their hands. All the passengers were advised to download the Arogya Setu app in their mobile phones. The commuters with the symptoms such as cough, fever will not be allowed into the station. R. Murthy, AR News, Bengaluru.
Environment Minister Prakash Zavadekar will chair a webinar today on the first ever International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies. Mr. Zavadekar will also review the progress of activities under National Clean Air Program NCAP during the course of the webinar. The webinar will be joined by Principal Secretaries of the Urban Development Departments and Environment Departments of 28 states and 8 union territories. Commissioners of 122 cities as identified in NCAP program will also participate. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his address from the Red Fort on this year's Independence Day, had highlighted the need of holistic improvement in air quality in 100 cities. The General Assembly of the United Nations on 19th of December last year had adopted a resolution to observe International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies on the 7th of September every year, starting from this year.
Monsoon session of Himachal Pradesh Assembly will begin today under strict COVID-19 protocols. The entire Vidhan Sabha is being sanitized and equipped with a thermal scanner and polycarbonate sheets. Our correspondent reports that minimum entry has been allowed to check the spread of corona.
The 10-day state assembly session of monsoon is all set to begin from today at 2 p.m. with COVID-19 restrictions. The assembly administration is taking all the precautionary measures to keep coronavirus at bay. In order to check the spread of COVID-19 infections, 6 feet high transparent polycarbonate sheets have been installed as a divider between the two seats in the assembly to maintain physical distance among the legislators. Besides, thermal scanners, sanitizers and masks will be made available at entrances of Vidhan Sabha, and any person with fever would be sent to the dispensary in the assembly complex. On the other hand, no visitors will be permitted in Vidhan Sabha complex during the session this time. Only 1/3 staff has been issued pass for conducting assembly proceedings. Speaker Vipin Singh Parmar urged the ruling and the opposition legislators to cooperate for smooth functioning of this session. Sanjeev Sundaryal, AIR News, Shimla.
The monsoon session of Telangana State Legislature will begin this morning amidst unprecedented precautions in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. The precautions and guidelines of Parliament are strictly being followed. It has been made mandatory for ministers, members, officials and even Legislative Secretariat to undergo COVID tests and obtain COVID-19 negative certificate for gaining entry into the premises. The business advisory committees of both the houses will be finalizing the exact business to be taken up during the session in the meetings to be held later today. As for the preparations, the session is likely to continue for about 15 days and is scheduled to take up a few key legislations.
In our series on Gandhian philosophy, today we bring you a report on Gandhiji's views on communal harmony and religious tolerance. Mahatma Gandhi was a great proponent of communal unity. He firmly believed that all religions teach men to be good and peaceful and that intolerance is the religion of the negative. The father of the nation said that the essence of true religious teaching is that one should serve and befriend all. A report.
Mahatma Gandhi was a champion of communal harmony and wanted all Indians, be they of any religion, to unite against the colonial government. He never found serious differences between the Hindus and Muslims and other minorities communities like the Christians, the Sikhs and Parsis. Gandhiji saw an inviolable harmony existing in all creation enshrined in all religions, and it was this principle that led him to accord equal respect to all faiths. He stressed open, universal peace, brotherhood and reverence for all life. Mahatma Gandhi said, the final goal of all religions is to realize this essential oneness. With Dipendra Kumar, Anupam Mishra, AIR News, Delhi.
The first issue of Navajivan, a weekly newspaper bearing the name of Gandhiji as its editor, was published on 7 September 1919. When word spread that Gandhiji was writing, the first issue received 2,500 subscriptions and orders started coming from Mumbai. The subscription increased to more than 15,000 copies. No other Gujarati weekly had such a large readership those days. The weekly newspaper became a live platform for Gandhiji to interact with the masses.
The ongoing Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat campaign is aimed at actively enhancing interaction between the people of diverse cultures living in different states and union territories of India with the objective of promoting greater mutual understanding amongst them. Accordingly, under Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat, the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir is paired with Tamil Nadu, and the exchange of activities under the theme have taken place on this front in the very recent past. To know more, let's listen to our Srinagar correspondent.
In order to foster the spirit of Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat, the Institutes of Hotel Management at Srinagar in Chennai, under the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, organized an online program on fascinating folk dances of Tamil Nadu and the Union Territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh in the last week of August this year. Students from both institutes performed their folk dances, which enthralled online audience. The students recorded their cultural presentations and shared their videos online. The performances were broadcast using online platforms, and the folk dances of both the places were appreciated, especially the Kashmiri dance, Roof and Bandijation, and the tribal dances of Tamil Nadu. The event ended on a high note, appreciating the cultural diversity and richness by the participants. E-certificates were also given to all the performers and the participants. A total of 192 students participated in the online event. This is Sunil Kohl for AR News from Srinagar.
Minister of State for Space Dr. Jitendra Singh has said that the launch of Chandrayaan-3 may now take place somewhere in early 2021. Chandrayaan-3 will be a mission repeat of Chandrayaan-2 and will include a lander and rover similar to that of Chandrayaan-2 but will not have an orbiter. Dr. Singh also said that meanwhile preparations are on for India's first ever human space mission Gaganyaan. He said constraints due to COVID pandemic led to some disruptions in the plan for Gaganyaan, but efforts are going on to stick to the timeline of around 2022. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh held a bilateral meeting with his Iranian counterpart Brigadier General Amir Hatami on Saturday. Mr. Singh was on a transit hold in Tehran en route from Moscow to New Delhi. The meeting between the two ministers took place in a cordial and warm atmosphere. Both the leaders emphasized upon the age-old cultural, linguistic and civilizational ties between India and Iran. They discussed ways to take forward bilateral cooperation and exchanged views on regional security issues, including peace and stability in Afghanistan.
In the US Open tennis, the Indo-Canadian pair of Rohan Bopanna and Denis Shapovalov will face the Dutch remaining duo of Jean-Julien Roger and Horaya Teixeira in the men's doubles quarterfinals today. Bopanna and Shapovalov reached the quarterfinals after defeating the German pair of Kevin Krawitz Andres Mies 4-6, 6-4, 6-3 in the second round clash that lasted for an hour and 47 minutes. In the women's singles, Serena Williams will take on Maria Sakkari of Greece in the fourth round. Serena beat Slovene Stephens 2-6, 6-2, 6-2 in the third round. Bcci has announced schedule for IPL 2020 to be held in the UAE. The season will kick-start on the 19th of September in Abu Dhabi with a blockbuster clash between defending champions Mumbai Indians and Chennai Super Kings. The action will shift to Dubai for the second game where Delhi Capitals will face Kings 11 Punjab on the 20th of September. The evening matches of the tournament, which will be played in the United Arab Emirates, will start at 7:30 p.m. Indian time. There will be 10 double headers and the afternoon matches will begin at 3:30 p.m.
And now let's take a look at today's weather. National capital Delhi is likely to witness a generally cloudy sky with light rain. Minimum temperature was 23 degrees Celsius and maximum will be 36 degrees. In Mumbai, generally cloudy sky with light rain is expected. Temperature is likely to hover between 26 degrees Celsius and 34 degrees Celsius. Chennai is likely to witness a generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. Minimum temperature was 26 degrees Celsius, while maximum could reach 33 degrees Celsius. Kolkata may have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. The minimum temperature was 28 degrees Celsius, while the maximum is expected to be 36 degrees. On to the north, in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the minimum temperature was recorded at 26 degrees Celsius in Jammu, while maximum will be around 34 degrees. The city will have partly cloudy sky. In Srinagar, the temperature will hover between 18 degrees and 30 degrees Celsius. The city is likely to have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards the afternoon or evening. Ladakh will also have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards the afternoon or evening. The temperature may hover around 16 and 27 degrees Celsius. In Gilgit, the minimum temperature was 14 degrees Celsius and maximum will be 28 degrees Celsius. The city will have a mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards the afternoon or evening. Muzaffarabad is also likely to have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards the evening or afternoon.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. With metro services resuming operations from today, papers have widely covered the protocols. The Age and Age writes, Metro gets airport-like touch-free security. Green signal for Metro's yellow line after 169 days. In a major relief to air passengers, some news to cheer. Centre orders refund of locked-down air tickets, reports the Times of India. Punjab witnesses highest spike in COVID-19 cases. Cases go up 3 times, Punjab battles it out. And finally, the Tribune says elementary schools unlikely to open this year in the state.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address Governors' Conference on National Education Policy through video conferencing today. Metro services resume across the country after a gap of over 5 months. Airlines to fully refund air tickets booked during lockdown, Centre tells Supreme Court. G20 countries reaffirm their commitment to ensure education continuity and safety for all. In the US Open Tennis, Indo-Canadian duo of Rohan Bopanna and Denis Shapovalov to play men's doubles quarterfinals today. And Bcci announces schedule for IPL 2020 to be held in the UAE. In the opening match, defending champions Mumbai Indians to clash with Chennai Super Kings on 19th of September. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a great day.